What is the secret of Soylent Green? New York City, in the year 2022. Nothing runs anymore. Nothing works. But the people are the same. And the people will do anything to get what they need.
This is the police.
What they need most is Soylent Green.
The supply of Soylent Green has been exhausted. Return to your home.
What is the secret of Soylent Green? Detective Sergeant Thorne. He has a 2-year backlog of unsolved murders. Now he's on a case that must be solved. Saul Roth, Thorne's private library.
Hey, Saul.
A living book in a world without books.
Have some pencils, courtesy of your next assignment. William R. Simonson.
Simonson. He was the first to learn the secret of Soylent Green.
They told me to say that they were sorry, but that you had become unreliable.
Saul Roth was the next to know.
How do we come to this?
And he chose to die rather than reveal the secret of Soylent Green. What is the secret of Soylent Green?
Why did you set up Simonson?
I didn't.
Cheryl.
See your hands.
Officially, she's furniture. She comes with the apartment. She belongs to the tenant.
How many times you been in trouble with the police, Cheryl?
Never.
Can't hear you.
Never.
Captain Hatcher. First, he wanted this case solved.
Simonson, what do you say?
It was an assassination.
Now, he just wants it closed.
Who bought you? High and hot, and they want this case closed permanently. Their way. Now, you sign this.
You sign it!
Thorne refuses to close the Simonson case.
Just do what you have to do. Where did you go with Simonson?
He took me to church.
Church.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been 6 months since my last confession.
Charlton Heston, Edward G. Robinson, Chuck Connors, Lee Taylor Young, Brock Peters, Paula Kelly, and Joseph Cotton fight for survival and try to solve the most bizarre riddle ever to face mankind. The search for the secret of Soylent Green. You will find out why Soylent Green means life. You will find out why Soylent Green means death.
We gotta stop him!
What is the secret of Soylent Green?
Please!
What is the secret of Soylent Green? This question was posed many times in the trailer you just watched for a movie that came out back in the 1970s, 73 to be exact, and I am doing this video on an old movie for the main purpose of showing you just how long the same kind of propaganda has been going for decades. I'm sure there were movies before this that were coming to say the same kinds of things. In fact, I did a video breakdown on a trailer for the movie The Thinning, which is a more recent adaptation, I would say, of movies of this nature, where if any of you saw the movie itself, it showed major UN propaganda at the beginning, talking about overpopulation, that resources are being depleted, that the earth needs to be restored, and that they have come up with this aptitude test in order to thin out the people who do not pass. And of course, there was corruption involved with that, where the elites were getting away, where students who were actually smart were being thinned out. They literally wanted to keep the dumb people around and people who had connections to the elites, so that I guess they could keep dumbing down the people. But again, it was all about population control and climate change and the environment and all the same kind of propaganda that we are shown over and over and over again. And so What I want to show you here today is not even breaking down any symbolism, but more to show you how many movies, and I'm not even going to get into all the movies because there's just so many of them, but how long and how many times we have been shown the same theme of climate change, of overpopulation, the same Luciferian doctrine that the elites want to push onto us, that it's basically mankind's fault for even breathing, that we are ruining the environment and that the climate is changing, but really it is all of them doing it. And right from this poster, we can see that some funny symbolism or numbers. It's the year 2022. You know, guys, that's not too much farther away because we are right already in 2017. So 2022 isn't that far off. But go figure, the 222 right there. But it says people are still the same. They'll do anything to get what they need, and they need Soylent Green. So really depicting a scene of desperation, that people are going to be rioting, that people are going to be in panic. There's even got riot control police all over the place. You got people running. And, you know, this same kind of theme of chaos, of New World Order, of controlling the population, same kind of thing being shown to us for many years now. And, you know, IMDb says that in the world ravaged by the greenhouse effect and overpopulation, there's that infamous word, overpopulation, an NYPD detective investigates the murder of a big company CEO. So I'm assuming the CEO is of the Soylent Green company, and we will get into that as we look at even Wikipedia and talk about, or which talks about the plot of this story, which again was done in 1973, so quite a long time ago. So according to the plot, the 20th century's industrialization led to overcrowding, pollution, and global warming due to the greenhouse effect. So they are, you know, in essence trying to say to us that it's your fault, mankind, you're breathing out too much carbon dioxide and you are causing the temperatures to rise. When in reality, true science will tell you that our environment needs carbon dioxide to survive, and that we actually only produce literally not even 3 or 4% of that. So it's really a lie that they've just fabricated into making people believe this and pushing this nonsense onto us. But anyways, in the year 2022, which again is not that far from now, 40 million people live in New York City. Housing is dilapidated, homeless people fill the streets, many are unemployed. Those few with jobs are only barely scraping by, and food and working technology are scarce, with most of the population surviving on rations produced by the Soylent Corporation. Their latest product is Soylent Green, a green wafer advertised to contain high-energy plankton from the world ocean, more nutritious and palatable than its predecessors red and yellow, but in short supply. Keep that world ocean term in mind. The NYPD detective Frank Thorne lives with his aged friend and police analyst Solomon Saul Roth. Saul remembers life before its current state and often waxes nostalgic. So it looks like he's reminiscing about the good old days before all the chaos took place. But anyways, he is a well-educated and has a small library of reference materials to assist Thorne. While investigating the murder of William R. Simonson, a member of the wealthy elite, he is definitely most likely the CEO of this company that has been just murdered. But what's quite interesting, it says this report, or there's a survey that is done, the classified Soylent Oceanographic Survey report from 2015 to 2019. Now, we being in 2017, we are right smack dab in the middle of that same exact time period that they are mentioning here. But anyways, this report was found in Simonson's apartment. This is the CEO of Soylent Green. Roth's research reveals Simonson was a member of the board of Soylent. Thorne tells his lieutenant Hatcher that he suspects an assassination. Nothing had been stolen from the apartment, security was absent, and the perpetrator used a meat hook instead of a gun to make it look like Simonson was killed in a burglary. So as we keep going, we'll see that something quite interesting later on. Governor Satini closes the investigation, but Thorne ignores this, and the Soylent Corporation dispatches Simonson's murder to kill Thorne. He tracks Thorne to a ration distribution center where police officers are providing security. When the Soylent Green there is exhausted, the crowd riots. So there you go, rioting crowds, chaos, most likely, they have to do martial law. The assassin attempts to kill Thorne in the confusion, but is crushed by the scoop crowd dispersion vehicle. Now here's where it gets interesting, where it says Roth takes Soylent's oceanographic reports to a group of researchers who agree that the oceans no longer produce the plankton from which Soylent Green is reputedly made, and infer that it is produced from human remains. Now, think about that with all the other TV shows and movies that we've broken down about cannibalism, about this bloodlust and Baal practices, shows like Santa Clarita Diet and all these kind of things. So right from a movie in the 70s, they're talking about human remains, so we'll get into that more. The only conceivable supply of protein matching the known production. So they're basically saying that human remains seem to be matching the protein that is in this product. So they also deduce that Simonson found out about this from the reports and his influence inside the corporation, and afraid he would talk because he did not like it, the corporation murdered him. Unable to live with this discovery, Roth seeks assisted suicide at a government clinic. So we can see that possibly Soylent Green is made from human remains. As we keep going, it says Thorne rushes to stop him, but he arrives too late and is mesmerized by the euthanasia process's visual and musical montage. Extinct forests, wild animals, rivers, and ocean life. Of course, trying to get good old Mother Nature worship in there. Before dying, Roth tells Thorne his discovery and begs him to expose the truth. Thorne boards a human disposal truck to the disposal center, just like what we saw here, human disposal truck. Okay, you can see that right there in the picture, the poster for Soylent Green, humans being disposed and being used for their remains, where he sees the human corpses converted into Soylent Green, but it is spotted and has to flee from there. So this is the secret of Soylent Green, that these wafers that they are making that have high energy plankton, or so they say, from the world ocean. This world ocean is really an ocean of people that they are killing, that they are basically picking up in human disposal trucks, and they are converting them, the remains of these people, into this Soylent Green product. So basically people are living off eating other people. So doesn't that sound familiar as to what we see taking place today in these TV shows and in real life that we will get into later on? But quite shocking, quite, I don't even want to say fascinating. It's just disgusting and sad that this has been going on for a long time. We have been seeing the same kind of propaganda from the 70s and possibly even earlier. And, this is an article that I've shown many times about this human population growth and climate change nonsense. And, this is supposedly science, even though, in my opinion, most of science today is really pseudoscience. It's not even real, but they use this term science just to push onto us as if some educated person is backing this up, so people just blindly believe it. But it says the largest single threat to the ecology and biodiversity of the planet in the decades to come will be global climate disruption due to the buildup of human-generated greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. People around the world are beginning to address the problem by reducing their carbon footprint through less consumption and better technology. But sustainable human population growth can overwhelm these efforts, leading us to conclude that we not only need smaller footprints, but fewer feet. So right there, talking about depopulation, getting rid of people. How do you have fewer feet without having fewer people? So this is the same kind of propaganda, lies coming from the science community, that basically it is mankind's fault. But if you really look into it, you will see that the science community are nothing more than Luciferians, or who are being made to put out this kind of nonsense. And I found this very interesting website called Overpopulation is a Myth. In fact, this little video clip that they show right here, I will be playing at the end of this video, but he really makes a point of showing how overpopulation truly is a myth. He talks about in this website, where does it come from, and I will leave links to this this stuff so you can look at it for yourself. But he quotes people that says that doctors couldn't cure things, or that he says here, did Paul Ehrlich really say that famines would devastate humanity in the 1970s? Yep, in his 1968 work, The Population Bomb, Ehrlich stated, the battle to feed all of humanity is over. In the 1970s, the world will undergo famines. Hundreds of millions of people will starve to death in spite of any crash programs embarked up until now. So, they put out all this fear propaganda. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't people starving in the world, but they definitely majorly overinflated it. Then he goes on to talk about the UNFPA. How do they profit from fear? The United Nations Fund for Population Activities was founded in 1969, the year after Ehrlich published The Population Bomb, which is this book that he's talking about here. So of course the good old Luciferian UN goes and forms something regarding this. They have been involved in programs with governments around the world who deny their women the right to choose the number and spacing of their children. Their complicit work with the infamous one-child policy mandated by the government of the People's Republic of China, uncovered by an investigation of the U.S. State Department in 2001, led to the U.S. to pull its funding. So, again, they're showing how this overpopulation is really quite nonsense, that really the entire world could really live right in the state of Texas. There's so much of land to go around. There is no such thing as overpopulation. And again, I will show the video clip from this website, and I will leave the link to this website as well, that you can check it out for yourself. But really, when we look at these nonsense SDGs from the UN, the Sustainable Development Goals, when they talk about things like no poverty and zero hunger, these are things that, again, this Soylent Green movie likes to propagate, talking about overcrowding, pollution, global warming, greenhouse gas nonsense. So these goals came out in 2015, I believe. So how can we have zero poverty and zero hunger, good health care for everyone, gender equality, all this kind of nonsense, climate change action, or responsible consumption and production, all these kinds of things, if we are not getting rid of people? I believe all of this climate change is based on Luciferian doctrines, which are put in stone or etched in stone on the infamous Georgia Guidestones. We have spoken about this many times, and the very first tenet of these Guidestones clearly says to maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. So when you think about that for just a minute, you will see that 500 million is really 6.5 billion less than what we have today as the current population of the world. So that would mean that if there are 7 or even 7.5, possibly 8, but let's say 7.5 billion people on the earth right now, then that means in order to maintain 500 million, that means 7 billion people have to die in order to accomplish that goal, to have zero poverty and whatever other nonsense that they want to push onto us, and making it seem like it's a great thing. But really, 7 billion people need to die. So I don't see how that is any good to you and to me. I see the elites benefiting from this and keeping a population of 500 million so that they can use as their slaves, basically, which we've seen in many different movies. So I honestly believe this is where this nonsense all comes from. It is Luciferian Mother Earth worship nonsense to its core. And we did a movie breakdown of this Logan's Run movie, which again was from quite a while ago. It was, of course, it got the good old number 23 in there, as they love to show, and people were not allowed to live until past 30, I believe, in this movie. So yet again, it is a dystopian movie where population and the consumption of resources are maintained in equilibrium by killing everyone who reaches the age of 30. So yet again, population control, or basically killing off people, telling them they cannot live past the age of 30. And again, same propaganda. Now, this movie was from 1976, so just 3 years after Soylent Green did Logan's Run come out. So already, again, propagating this New World Order Luciferian depopulation doctrine of climate change. And as I mentioned before, we did a movie breakdown on The Thinning. And of course, it was about the same kind of thing of overpopulation, of climate change, of resources being put out or being cut down. And here we have in the plot, in the year 2039, Earth's resources are nearly depleted by overpopulation. So the UN declares that all nations must cut their population by 5% each year. While some countries remove their elderly and others enforce a one-child policy, in the United States the answer is 10 to 241, or more commonly known as the thinning, a standardized test taken from 1st grade to 12th grade. Those who pass continue to the next grade, while those who fail are executed. So again, total depopulation agenda. They want to push onto humanity that it is our fault, that the whole of the earth, we're all going to die, that if man just continues to populate and reproduce, that we're just going to kill ourselves just by the very air that we're breathing out, which is honestly, in my opinion, extreme lunacy to the highest degree. I cannot stress to you how crazy that kind of thinking is, but really, people are being so desensitized and are actually believing this kind of nonsense and really think that climate change is real, but it's really just not. And if you look into HARP, you will see that for yourself, that it is the elites, the Luciferians, the military industrial complex that is causing climate change through their HARP technology. And if you look into that, you will see it for yourself. But let's talk about other movies. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of other movies that have been talking about the same thing, so you can see for yourself that this propaganda has been going on for a while. Some of you will remember a movie called 12 Monkeys starring Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt and Madeline Stowe. And according to the movie, it was about, again, population control, because in a future world devastated by disease, a convict is sent back in time to gather information about the man-made virus that wiped out most of the human population. So again, man-made. Think about the CDC, the WHO, the Luciferian government agencies. This is man-made. It is caused by these elites doing this kind of nonsense, and of course, they kill off a vast chunk of the human population. So, yet again, more depopulation agenda propaganda right in our faces. And of course, many of you will remember the series of Resident Evil movies and what happened in those movies. In all 6 of them, it is all about depopulation, at least in my opinion. It is yet again about a virus that spreads throughout the world, killing people, making them into zombies. So again, total decimation of the human population. And so in my opinion, it basically is about depopulation once again. Another movie along the same lines, World War Z, or if you're an American, World War Z. Former United Nations employee Jerry Lane traverses the world in a race against time to stop the zombie pandemic that is toppling armies and governments and threatening to destroy humanity. Okay, humanity itself. So again, depopulation, killing off humanity. This is what the Luciferians, who are inspired by Lucifer himself, he just wants to steal, kill, and destroy, exactly what the Bible claims that he does, which is exactly what this is, just killing off people. This is what World War Z was about. Resident Evil, 12 Monkeys, basically a virus that kills off the human population. How many remember a movie called In Time with Justin Timberlake? I actually quite enjoyed this movie. It was a very fascinating concept, but yet again, it's about, in my opinion, depopulation, controlling the reproduction of people, and it's in a future where people stop aging at 25 but are engineered. All right, engineered to live only 1 more year, having the means to buy your way out of the situation at a shot at immortal youth. So it's the rich elites who can live for hundreds of years. They have the money and the means to keep buying more time. But people like the character that Justin Timberlake played, this Will Salas, they pretty much only have a day to play with, and they need to survive. They are survivors. They are scrounging for more time. So really, the general public basically gets killed off, or they basically do not have the means to survive and they just die. But the elites live on. So it's all about, again, population control and the elites holding all the cards. So same kind of thing that we are seeing here. And of course, another movie, in my opinion, that addresses the depopulation stuff is good old Tom Cruise and Oblivion back in 2013. Of course, the title speaks for itself. But according to the plot, it says that the year is 2077, 60 years after a war with extraterrestrials, so they're pushing on the good old alien agenda here, has devastated Earth in 2017. What year are we in right now? We are in the year 2017. And interestingly enough, this movie only came out in 2013. So basically, 4 years ago did this movie come out, and here we are being told in 2017 that the Earth was going to be devastated. They even had a poster, I believe, of the last Super Bowl being in 2017. So is that a cryptic hint for possible devastation that is coming this year? Of course, that remains to be seen. I'm not trying to predict anything, but I found that quite fascinating. But they are basically talking about the devastation of the Earth in 2017. So in my mind, that totally talks about depopulation, major population reduction, and the rest of humanity has relocated to Saturn's moon Titan. Go figure, Saturn, which is basically the pagan god Kronos, Satan, whom they worship, and Titan, I believe, is a reference to the fallen angels having relations with the daughters of men and creating a super race of beings, the Titans, the giants. Okay, so again, same pagan, devilish, satanic, Luciferian stuff going on here, where again, people have been decimated and relocated. All right, so they want to get rid of us. This is the plan of the Illuminati. And of course, let's get into a children's movie by Disney. But of course, we all know who are awake what Disney's all about. Good old Wall-E. And this is about a movie in the distant future. What I find quite interesting is when you go down here, it actually says in a distant but not so unrealistic future. So right in our faces, they're telling us that this is not so unrealistic. It's most likely going to happen or could possibly happen. It's not so unrealistic of a future where mankind has abandoned Earth because it has become covered with trash from products sold by the powerful multinational by and large corporation. So just like Soylent Green, it's all about the company, all about making money, and of course they have trashed the entire Earth, and Wall-E is a garbage collecting robot that has been left to clean up the mess. So basically, Earth is like a place for cockroaches or a place for bugs. It is basically a garbage dump. And, again, they are pushing this climate change, this, destruction of the Earth, garbage everywhere, and just mass pollution. Same kind of propaganda and subliminal messaging right in our faces from a children's movie back in 2008. So Wall-E is nothing different than what is going on. And I really want to get into this whole how they called Soylent Green or talked about the world population and this whole eating of human remains. This is something that we are seeing in real life today. Many of you are aware of Marina Abramovich and her absolutely disgusting spirit cooking, how she basically shows people being eaten, even though it may seem fake to many people and may even seem like a joke. This is no laughing matter. This is something that is very serious. Here you can see her at one of her supposed festivals. They have what looks like a human corpse inside all of this blood. Now, this is most likely food products that is on this body, whether this body is fake or real, but these people are eating from this thing. But this really should be disturbing to most people, that what these people are doing here. Of course, you got good old Lady Gaga here, and again, this is something that we have been shown many times. And they seem to really promote this bloodlust Baal practice. You've got on here with a sharp knife cut deeply into the middle finger of your left hand and eat the pain. So really Luciferian stuff. You've got the Baphomet right here. She's holding this bloody goat head. These people are Luciferian to the core. Somebody once mentioned to me they find it fascinating that this Marina Abramovich, she is 70 years old, yet she looks like she's 20 or 30. So possibly is it through these blood rituals that she is doing that is keeping her young? God only knows, Abba Yahweh knows what these people are doing, but the same kind of thing is being propagated over and over again. The eating of human remains. We've done a video on Santa Clarita Diet, and many of you are aware of this ridiculous show that completely glorifies cannibalism, the eating of human flesh. Drew Barrymore, who basically is a zombie, and the only way for her to stay alive is to eat the remains of humans, and her husband just goes along with it. And this is not a horror, of course. This is a comedy, a sitcom that is coming out or maybe already out on Netflix, and these kinds of things are being propagated through humor, through these TV shows and movies, and it is not a laughing matter because people are starting to accept this kind of stuff. And We talked about even in another video about this movie Raw, about this girl who basically was a vegan, but then she basically becomes a cannibal. This is basically a cannibal sex movie as they've dubbed it, but really you can see that this girl literally becomes like a demon. She's biting into even her boyfriend here. You can see the blood running. She's biting into this other, I would say, colleague of hers. So really, again, totally depicting cannibalism, and in my opinion really promoting this kind of thing. So with that wafer that we spoke about for Soylent Green that was made from human remains, here we're seeing in a more blatant kind of depiction the same kind of thing. People eating each other, people surviving by the blood of another human. This is just all out Baal practice, what Abba Yahweh forbid his people Israel to do. And the same thing is happening now. And before the judgment came to Israel, when they were shipped off to Babylon and the armies of their enemies came, these are the same kinds of things that they were doing. All of these Baal practices, sacrificing their children in the fire, all this kind of thing. And so we are on the verge, I would say, of major judgment that is about to come. So, talking about this climate change, which is all leading to the same kind of thing, this is the lie that is being propagated like crazy all over the place. We see this nonsense, in so many different forms. I just showed you quite a few movies that talk about the same kind of thing, but really it is such a lie. And, when you know the true cosmology of our world, I know many people still believe in the globe, and I'm not going to make fun of you or mock you, but really, please, I would encourage you to look into the claims of flat earth. It is very fascinating. I believe that the Bible confirms the true cosmology of our world being a flat circular plane under a dome firmament. And when you think about that and realize the truth, you will see that climate change is such a farce that they cannot have climate change. They cannot have an alien deception. They cannot have this global warming and evolution if we are living in an enclosed system, which I fully believe the Bible talks about. So really, climate change, again, is a farce. You can't have evolution. You can't have climate change. You can't have the aliens coming, because there's no such thing as planets and galaxies. Those things that you see up in the sky, they are lights in the firmament that Abba Yahweh has placed there in the waters above. So don't be fooled by what mainstream science is telling you. But again, just look into it. But climate change is definitely a farce that is being pushed onto us like crazy. It is a complete lie, and any real scientist will tell you that climate change is just nothing but nonsense. It is not real science, and that it has been disproven many times, and that NASA and the Luciferian scientific community are fudging the numbers in order to promote their nonsense. And you'll remember the good old 2015 United Nations Climate Change Conference that took place back in November and December of 2015. And what I found quite interesting about this conference, and to me, it was a bunch of Luciferians all getting together to ratify this thing. But what was hung on the Eiffel Tower, this big ball kind of structure that was put in, hanging right basically in this section of the Eiffel Tower. But what can you see right in your face right there? You've got the good old all-seeing eye on top of the pyramid, and it's saying Earth Crisis. They are completely showing you that this is Luciferian to the core. This is none other than the New World Order trying to rise up, trying to push their same Luciferian Mother Earth worship nonsense onto the people of this world. And they are just fooling people into believing that the climate is changing, that we are responsible for it, and that if we don't do something, we're all going to die. But really, it is just a farce to hide the judgments of Abba Yahweh that is coming very soon. According to the book of Revelation, the devil is trying to counterfeit those things so that when they do really start coming, they will chalk it up to climate change, because that's what they have programmed people to believe. So the judgments that are coming, you can see the Luciferians that are all behind this stuff. That is what they are doing. People who don't know what is going on don't recognize these symbols. It's like a hidden language. If you don't know the language, you can't read the symbols. And so when people see this, they have no idea what they're seeing. They might think, I think I've seen that kind of thing before, but they really don't know the meaning behind it. But really, it is the Luciferians that are behind this whole thing. And wouldn't you know the Catholic Church, which in my opinion is basically the central place of paganism. It is the universal place of putting all paganism together. And this Pope, who is a very evil man in my opinion, they have a website, can you believe, called the Global Catholic Climate Movement. And it's all about climate change. There's even a quote from good old Pope Francis on climate change. There is a clear, definitive, and ineluctable ethical imperative to act. So he is propagating this climate change nonsense like crazy. He is basically the high priest of climate change, I would say, apart from all the other ones like Al Gore or even Barack Obama. But again, I will leave links so you can look at this for yourself. But they are totally pushing this whole climate change nonsense. Of course, you got the good old pagan beads there that they're using, showing the Catholic pagan doctrine and all this kind of thing that is going on here. And really, Pope Francis is one of the key figures in this whole climate change. They are Luciferians. They are Gaia worshippers. They worship Isis. They worship Horus. They worship Set. They worship Tammuz. They worship Nimrod. Okay, they worship the beast. They worship the dragon. These people are not to be trusted. And sadly, just as the Bible says that Lucifer masquerades as an angel of light, so people think this man is very innocent, but really the Roman Catholic Church, to me, in my mind, is Mystery Babylon. They are propagating all of this nonsense and bringing about all this false kind of stuff all over the place. I believe that the Jesuits are also responsible for the teachings of evolution, for the teachings of the globe, for the teachings of even dinosaurs and many other things that have come from these Jesuits, and even the aliens, and how Pope Francis openly says that he'll baptize aliens. And now, of course, they're propagating this climate change, and he's put out even an encyclical to the Catholic world to go along with this climate change. And when he came to the U.S. A couple years ago in 2015, you would think that if he's a servant of Yeshua, that he would talk about getting saved. He would talk about salvation. But no, one of his main concerns was addressing climate change. So why should he be promoting that? But when you see what he really is, he is totally a Luciferian that is promoting Luciferian doctrine. So this is a lie to the core. I find this meme, or this little cartoon meme quite interesting. You've got this basic Catholic bishop here, or what looks like a Catholic bishop, and you've got basically a torture guy here and a scientist who's being tortured. And he says, okay, I believe mankind caused global warming. Very well, says the bishop, give the heretic back his research funds. So to me, this is kind of a funny way, well, I shouldn't say it's even really funny, but a way of depicting the Catholic Church and the high priests of climate change, the Luciferians, all these people who are basically forcing this onto even possibly the science community. Most likely, many scientists are being either bribed or they're being threatened to push this climate change onto the people, so that as long as the scientists are saying it, then it must be true, and people will just blindly believe it. Let's not forget good old David Rockefeller, another well-known Luciferian and New World Order person, who says, has been quoted as saying, all we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the New World Order. And that's right from the mouth of David Rockefeller. He openly talks about having a one world government. He openly spoke about having a major crisis. So could it be that the major crisis that is coming will be one of the big steps to depopulation, just like what is seen in the Georgia Guidestones, just as what all of these Luciferians love to promote? They all think they're going to have their golden age, that they're going to be the ones that repopulate, or they're going to be the ones that rule this world. They have been lied to by Lucifer, by the devil, and they have fallen for his lie. They think that he is the light, but he is just not. But again, like I said, or as David Rockefeller has said, they want their major crisis. Possibly that will be a major depopulation event that will usher in the New World Order. So I also find it quite fascinating from the movie Star Wars, even though we just did a video on it. You'll remember from episode 7 in The Force Awakens, we were talking about good old Soylent Green here at the beginning of this video. Isn't it quite interesting that Rey, when she had to go basically get her meal for the day, she would go and sell whatever she could find, whatever she had collected on the basically that junk place of a planet. She would take it to this, crazy alien being here and exchange it for this weird kind of green kind of veg meat or something that would turn into like some kind of bread. But yet again, was this a depiction, in our day and age of good old Soylent Green? that we saw back in a movie from the 70s. So again, same kind of propaganda, the earth being decimated. People are basically surviving by the skin of their teeth. They are selling whatever they can in order just to buy food. And they show this same kind of green kind of product. So I just found that quite interesting, because possibly this, depopulation crisis event that all these Luciferians are just eagerly awaiting for is going to be coming very soon. And like we showed before, it's quite fascinating that movies like Oblivion actually mentioned the year 2017, that the report in Soylent Green was from 2015 to 2019, even though that movie was done back in the early 70s, and here we are right in 2017. Is something big about to happen this year? Obviously, I don't know. That remains to be seen. We need to trust in Yeshua HaMashiach, the true Messiah and Savior of this world. Please do not go along with this programming. We are constantly being bombarded with this climate change nonsense. It is nothing but lies to fool you into believing that we are killing off this planet. The Bible is clear that the earth was made for man and man for the earth. We are the ones that are supposed to populate. Abba Yahweh says to be fruitful and multiply. So really, this climate change and depopulation is a Luciferian doctrine. He wants to go against everything that Abba Yahweh stands for, that his word has clearly said. He wants to turn everything upside down. So when Abba Yahweh has told us to reproduce and multiply, to be fruitful and multiply, the devil wants to tell us through his Luciferian agencies, that there's too many people, that we need to depopulate, that it's mankind's fault for all the carbon dioxide and climate change nonsense, when in reality, they are the ones, the Luciferian companies are the ones who are destroying this earth. Don't fall for the lies. Put your trust in Yeshua. He is the one that can save you from this crazy world that has the signs all over the place that this world, this elite establishment is coming to an end, that Yeshua is coming to reign this earth, and I pray that you put your trust in him before it is too late. Again, do not believe anything that I say. I encourage you to do your own research, but as always, please be aware of what is being shown to us in plain sight.
The myth of overpopulation originated in England in 1798, when a vicar named Thomas Malthus, who fancied himself something of a mathematician, saw that food production increased incrementally, but people reproduced exponentially. He sat down and did some simple math, and summarily decided that the world would be out of food by 1890. He blamed reduced mortality rates, and recommended killing off the have-nots of society, lest the haves starve to death. This cry was taken up by Paul Ehrlich of Stanford University in 1968, who claimed that reckless human reproduction had overwhelmed the Earth. Massive famines would result, which would destroy, best case scenario, 1/5 of humanity by the end of the 70s. And the planet would follow. This fear produced large donations for the newly created UNFPA, which thrives on an imagined crisis that has been both imminent and rescheduled again and again over the past 2 centuries. The truth of the matter is that every family on this planet could have a house with a yard and all live together on a landmass the size of Texas, which is really just a small corner of the planet. The population of Earth will peak in 30 years and then start to go back down. We're not overpopulated. Do the math.